will see somebody like you published your resignation letter with Barry Weiss at her Substack. You're here. Fox News will cover this story, but
There you
MSNBC will
go.
not. And you sent out an interesting tweet about that. Speaking of your message for Rachel Maddow, what?
Right. Well, one of the reasons that I'm on, for example, I went on Tucker or what have you, to be very candid, is because they called and invited me. And so I
Mhm.
said, sure, I'm happy to go have a conversation with you, even though we have some pretty significant ideas. But just by the way, that's one of the reasons that we need discourse, because I do think that my ideas are better, and I'm more than happy to talk to people who are across the divide. And if I'm wrong, I'll change my mind. But that's why we need discourse. That's why we need to talk to each other. And so the resignation letter was picked up all across the world, German papers, translations. Of course, Fox went crazy over it. But no one on the left, no left of center media, nobody, no Rachel Maddow, no CNN, no MSNBC, no, none of it. And so then I put out a tweet. I'd really like to have a conversation with you about our universities. I'd really like to have a conversation with you. I put out the Oregonian. Finally, the Oregonian put something out about it. But there is, so here's the problem. Part of the problem is that if we just criticize one thing, everyone will say, well, you don't criticize the other thing. Why isn't that the problem? Well, okay, well, maybe could it be that there's just more of a problem on one side with one particular thing? That doesn't mean that the right doesn't. Of course, the right has. Every ideology has its problems. But it tells me that the media ecosystem on the left is also like the universities. It's experiencing a kind of sickness. They don't want to entertain views that go against the narrative. They don't want to talk about the illiberalism and the censoriousness that's happening in academia, because they view themselves as part of that movement. So it tells me that there's a problem when I'm more than happy to have, and not even a debate, just a conversation. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with Rachel Maddow about what's going on in our universities, but they don't want to cover it. The
Yeah.
Oregonian, they don't want to have that conversation. Why is that?
She doesn't want to hear it because they're not willing to stand up for process. And process makes it sound too small. Process is important. Process means due process. Process means free speech
Right.
and the ability to engage in the intellectual exchanges we're talking about.